Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining the Startups for AWS Marketplace webinar. My name is Lillian, and I do startup sales at AWS. I'll be your host for today. In today's webinar, we'll be learning how two startups across APAC have adopted the AWS Marketplace to help drive growth in two distinct and different ways. So let's take a step back. What is AWS Marketplace? AWS Marketplace is an online store that helps companies find, buy, and immediately start using software that they need to build their products and run their businesses. Think of it as Amazon.com, but for software solutions. Our startup community across ASEAN is adopting marketplace services to drive better efficiencies around software deployment as they look to ensure that they stay lean, agile, and focus on quality and speed. And a lot of AWS customers are using Marketplace today. Right now, AWS Marketplace has over 100,000 active customers and growing. However, for startups, AWS Marketplace isn't just an online store where you can start deploying software faster and easier. You can also list your services on the Marketplace and begin selling immediately around the world. With over 3,500 software listings from over 1,100 partners, the Marketplace is becoming a popular go-to-market solution for a lot of technology companies, both large and small. For businesses with a software product, this is great because they can market to existing AWS customers and leave the challenges of billing, metering, and deployment to AWS. This leaves you with more time to manage your business, product, and your customers. So on the call today, we're going to hear from both a startup that uses software off the Marketplace as well as a startup that sells through the Marketplace. We'll be bringing on board Bhaskar Vullapalli, Head of Strategy and Partnerships, and Itsek Ajiashwali, Head of Product at Crayon Data. We'll also be hearing from Michael Saleo, co-founder and CTO from Cumulus. So before we begin, just some housekeeping items to get out of the way. We encourage you to ask any questions by posting them online, and we will address them during the Q&A at the end of the session or after the webinar. To ensure that you have your $100 Marketplace credit code, we request you to fill a feedback form at the end of the session. This will help us to continue to improve and understand what you guys require to become successful in your business. This is also a platform to highlight if you require any further assistance from AWS after this session. We look forward to your guys' active participation in this session, and at the end of the week, we'll share access to a recording of today's webinar for your reference. So let's get started by bringing on Bhaskar and Itsek from Crayon Data, a startup that has been using AWS for a few years now. They'll be sharing how they've been using solutions from the AWS Marketplace and the key benefits that they've experienced from purchasing from the Marketplace. With that, I welcome Bhaskar and Itsek from Crayon Data.
Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Bhaskar from Crayon Data.
Hi, guys. Itsek is here.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Could you guys start us off by giving us some background on Crayon Data?
Yeah, sure. We're a Singapore-based startup. We've been in the big data and analytics personalization space for the last 5 years since our startup. And in the last 5 years, we've built up what we call a personalization engine named Maya, which serves large enterprises across the globe to reach out to their consumers and provide personalized offers and choices to their lifestyle concerns.
Great. Sorry. Go ahead.
There's a bit of a pivot for me. Are you able to hear me? Sorry.
Yep. All good, Bhaskar.
Okay. Like I was saying, we've been serving large enterprises across the globe in serving personalized choices to their consumers, and we go well beyond the regular recommendation engines in the sense that we use significant amount of digital data as well as large-scale enterprise data and bring that together so that each consumer of the enterprise gets an extremely personalized experience throughout their interactions with the business.
So you mentioned a few of the markets that you're targeting. Could you share a little bit more about the product roadmap that you guys are currently developing to get to those markets?
Absolutely. So today we are.
Basically, let me chip in and help maybe that would be better. So we are currently targeting to further build our choice recommendation engine, which we dub as the choice.ai. However, we are not stopping with the analytical capabilities, and we are offering our clients a full suite of digital, ready-to-market assets as the OEM models that they are ready to deploy. Beyond that, we are opening our platform to allow merchants to come on board and target customers using the recommendation engines that essentially we are reversing the equation. Not only we are allowing the enterprises to deliver the best content and choices to their customers, but allow the market, the merchants, to target their customers better, essentially delivering like a personalized, optimal offer to each and every customer. So that's what lies down the road for us, and obviously everything there is being powered by AI and big data and all the buzzwords that all the startup guys on the call probably know.
Yeah, definitely hearing a lot about AI these days. So that's interesting. That's an interesting forward look into the future. Maybe you could share a little bit more about how you, so the merchants that you work with, what is the business model that you guys use to go to market and target these merchants?
So at the core of it, our primary business model operates with enterprises. However, once we land within the enterprise, we allow our platforms to open up and introduce efficiencies to them in the business processes around the affiliate management programs and the merchant management programs. And we do that by providing a view to the same platform that the enterprise is using, to the same data set, and the proposition for them at the end of the day is either revenue sharing or a fee being promoted as part of any target that they actually issue on our platform.
Thanks, Itzik. And when you were going after these merchants, what were some challenges that you guys had during your go-to-market strategy that you needed to resolve?
I think it's broader than only focusing on the merchants, but when you're looking at our challenges as a whole, first of all, as a startup, we needed credibility. And when we come to an enterprise, a tier 1 airliner or a tier 1 bank, and we tell them, hey, give us all your data and we'll be able to do magic with it in just a few days, there were like quite a few eyebrows were raised and said, okay, this startup is talking nonsense, or everybody there is smoking dope. So we needed credibility. We needed speed, we needed scale. To give you a reference, we have a usual typical banking clients provide us billions of data records for us to be able to process and create a personal taste fingerprint that allows us, essentially, that is the ingredient that allows us to match preferences of consumers to inventory of supply, either of products or offers. So in that sense, scalability, ability to cut across and deliver solutions in a replicable form quickly, efficiently, to perform. That is, again, scalability goes a lot into that, but your ability to deploy the right solution that are able to extract the max from whatever resources available is a big advantage for us. We saw repeatedly that given the nature of the data that we are onboarding to our platform, there is a lot of sensitivity to where exactly that data resides. Does it leave the country? Does it not leave the country? If it leaves the country, where does it actually end up sitting? Where is the data center? What is the availability and the aspects that go with that? Obviously, we were highly sensitive for cost. As it is, most of our clients have big internal departments that operate data, very advanced data warehouses, and we're coming with an analytical capability that promises to do magic. So we wanted also to play the advantage of providing whatever we are doing with a competitive price to the market, and therefore we needed to control our cost. And beyond anything, passing the scrutiny of a large global enterprise and be regarded as a safeguarded partner to be entrusted with the data, it is not an easy ordeal. That was probably one, if not the biggest time-consuming effort, whereby we needed mountains and mountains of evidence that we are either compliant, ready for operations, and their data is safe with us. So that's a subset of the challenges we had as we operated the market.
That's interesting. So you mentioned a lot around scalability being important, cutting costs, being able to, the speed that you have to move with being important as well. Can you share a little bit more about how Marketplace, AWS Marketplace, was actually able to enable you to do that?
Sure. Let me again provide maybe a more holistic answer. First of all, when we started, there is no one around to provide any close alternatives. And with the years as we've grown, we have started with whatever we made and had. However, with the introduction of Marketplace, we looked at our internal operations and looked at what does it take to service one global tier 1 client. And the amount of software that you actually need to deploy and the operations you need to run is quite staggering. It never stops with a nice piece of code, and it never stops with a nice, beautiful UX. And it starts from the bottom, where you reside your data, how do you build your application, how do they scale, how do you protect your data, how do you deploy a dedicated private network for tier 1 premium customers. Marketplace allowed us to tap into all of the necessary software of the table stakes that we don't necessarily want to focus on. However, they're composing what I consider to be the web operating system for you to deploy any solution that is web-facing, is scalable, heavy on data. We're able to quickly access that set of software without necessarily the need to engage multiple different vendors, qualify them, understand how it is connecting, how it fits into our technology stack. Everything was there ready for us to use. We just needed to focus on see that it makes sense on the financial level, it makes sense on the functional level, and that we can actually use it and drop it into our automation. It went to the fact that it was so much convenient for our business operations that we adopted it also internally as a standard for anything that we deploy, either in our engineering team, product teams, or any other business processes that we conduct internally.
Great. Sounds like we were able to help you kind of cut down on the number of vendors that you have to manage and then just sort of be that one point of contact for you. Could you share a little bit more about the different software that you do deploy on Marketplace and what the actual procurement process through Marketplace, that deployment process, what that experience was like?
I would not be able to go into the low-level details of that. We have far better capable people than myself to handle that. But as the very simple form, and I think that you can see that in the slide that is shared with everybody, you see that we focus heavily making sure that our entire backbone is safe. And it starts with the CIS, instances, CentOS, and the protection with the proper firewalls, etc. We tap heavily and leverage all the elasticity and the flexibility that the AWS scale-up down flexible model allows us, especially when we started being able to commit to a flexi model with our infrastructure was really important. And then we added on, obviously, storage. We are very, very heavy on data and data processing and data storage and archiving of that. So we are very hungry for that. And lastly, when we scaled, we needed an efficient way to start monitoring the various aspects of operations and finding areas whereby we can actually be more efficient in terms of cost, but also more efficient in terms of operations. So we also deployed all kinds of the software that you can see here, CloudWatch and CloudTel, etc., in order to help us. Access control into the system, who's going where, who's doing what, etc., is super important for us. And again, we are operating the finance industry, and we have a tier 1 set of clients. So this is very sensitive for us, even though we are not asking our clients to provide us with any personally identifiable information, but still, we are very sensitive for that, and we are investing a lot in that. So you can see that IAM is also there. As it pertains to the ability to introduce these services to our operations and to manage the entire billing process, billing schedule, it's very convenient. Essentially bundle it in one lump sum that you're getting at the end of the day, and you are able to get the reports that you want. So in terms of operation, instead of deploying now 5, 6, 7 dedicated resources for us to be managing them, we actually have a very lean and mean cloud team that are expert in how to work with AWS and the various capabilities, and they are focused primarily on getting what we want to extract and deliver value for our clients, and the rest is actually orchestrated and provided by AWS Marketplace.
So you touched on a few of the key benefits that helped you guys at Crayon Data. Could you maybe share, so you mentioned cost benefits, being able to cut down operational overheads. Are there any other benefits that you feel like other startups could also potentially benefit from specific to the AWS Marketplace?
As a startup, I think speed is super important. And the fact that you don't need to go now on the market and start looking for vendors, which is a tedious job to select the right vendor, and can turn out to be a very costly one, even if the direct cost that you're spending on that vendor is not as apparent. Selecting the wrong one can set you back, and speed and time is the most important ingredient you have, especially before you run out of money and you need to raise the capital again. So the fact that you have a set of trusted solutions, software solutions you can safely embed into your operation means time, means more value, more focus for your customers. So you can see that in the benefits, we are able to extract value both to deliver shorter sales cycles, that is, we introduced a program that allowed our customers to test our solutions, and we have managed with automation and by introducing additional capabilities from the AWS Marketplace, we were able to cut it down to a few days instead of a few weeks. And again, we are talking about tier 1 customers with the heavy processes, with bureaucracy. So this is a breakthrough for us, being able to do that. Internally, we also continuously identified and build automation processes around the cloud operations and the SaaS product that we are delivering, but also internally in the business processes, in the R&D, in the lab, in the testing. Everything is being automated, so we are able to save that extra day, extra hour, extra week to get those benefits. As a rule of guide, extracting the 10% cost saving is a no-brainer, and we are now even discussing on how we can take the cost savings with the flexible models we have with AWS to even larger extent by introducing some changes in the way we are committing our instances and the way we manage that. All in all, you're getting much stronger performance boost. You focus much more on delivering value for the client. You keep your operations team and IT team lean and mean. You don't waste time on vendor management, and you continuously focus to see that you are well positioned for growth. So that's in a very, very high level on the benefits that we are extracting from this.
That's fantastic to hear, though. I'm really glad to hear, especially what was really jumped out to me was interesting, the fact that speed was important and that you were able to shorten your sales cycles. So that's really interesting. The fact that you guys were able to kind of shorten the sales cycle means that you guys have more time. What could you do now using AWS Marketplace that maybe you couldn't have done before?
I think it all boils down to the question of what will you do with more time and doing whatever you want to do with less resources. That means we want to sell more, and we want to invest our energy and time to create more value. So instead of taking the capital that we have raised in the market and the revenues that we are generating in order to direct that to labor-oriented business processes, etc., we are able to increase the investments we are extending to our product and increase the value we deliver to the client in terms of ability to revert very, very quickly on changes, ability to deliver, introduce new capabilities for them in the market, and obviously it translates directly to our ability to grow faster as a company. Not having that will translate into a slow, uphill climb, which often gets to be painful. So investing, and then again I'm saying time and speed is a critical ingredient for any entrepreneur when he builds his company. And with AWS, a lot of the, I would say, not as important or non-core items that you should be focusing at is already taken care of. And that's what we like about it.
That's fantastic to hear. I'm glad we were able to help in that sense. Last question from me. What are your guys' future plans for AWS Marketplace?
We are actually in planning stage. The objective is to further introduce efficiencies and drive the entire cloud-based operation, leveraging the AWS offering, to a complete self-service model. So I mentioned the merchant aspect. So while we have achieved impressive levels of automations and efficiency, and everything now is being almost automated, it's not there completely yet. So we want to be able to build a layer that orchestrates our entire business processes and takes away any person in the middle. Essentially to create an exception-based management system whereby the customer itself is able to tap into our services and the rest take care of itself by itself. So that is the big objective that we have. Obviously, extracting more efficiencies in terms of cost remains our primary objective, so we can roll that benefit either to further investment in our product or to even provide a better competitive price point for our customers.
That's really exciting to hear. I feel like Crayon Data is really at the cusp of some really exciting stuff, so it's cool to hear about the things that you guys have planned for the future. Thank you, Itzik, and thank you, Bhaskar, for your time with us. Glad to have you guys on board. We're just going to switch gears now, and I'm going to bring on Michael from Cumulus, who is a startup that's actually using Marketplace. They're a seller on Marketplace, so they're using Marketplace to sell to their customers, and they've listed their product on the Marketplace with, and what that means is that it's made instantly available to anyone around the world to discover and buy and deploy. So for a lot of you guys who are listening right now, thinking about how to deploy your product to your customers, it's often more of a challenge than actually building the product. So great to have Michael here from Cumulus talk about how they've been able to actually remove some of these challenges.
Hey Lillian, how are you?
I'm good, Michael. Thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Good. Michael, could you just start us off by giving us some background around Cumulus?
Yeah, no worries. So we're like Crayon Data, a startup that was founded in late 2012. So we're essentially a cloud management platform. We help organizations, large or small, address some of the problems or challenges when they move into the cloud. Some of those common challenges or problems include things like visibility, security and governance, cost management and charging back into the business units, integration with existing platforms out there, or, for example, marketplace solutions, and things like the learning curve that happens with the introduction of new skills as you move into the cloud. So we really specialize in things like the provisioning, the implementation of governance and strong automation in those public cloud environments.
And Michael, when you guys are delivering these services around governance and integration to your end customers, what is the business model that you guys use to go to market?
So we're a software platform, but we're available via SaaS or by an appliance, which is actually provided from the AWS Marketplace. Similar to our customers' cloud usage, our commercial model is consumption driven, and the more you consume, or the more a customer consumes, the more they pay for the solution. We target organisations of all sizes, but the marketplace has really helped us open up and target larger organisations like MNCs or large enterprises. Our customers include a pretty cool list of customers these days, like Asahi, Monash University, Symantec, Treasury Wine Estates, and our go-to-market model, it really attracts around a small sales team, attracting customers either through key alliances with the likes of Network Appliance, Puppet, Amazon, word of mouth, a lot of social media, or having or using free platforms. So we've got a free SaaS platform which is all around cost and security recommendations in the cloud, and helps people visualize and get pictorial views of their environments. It really allows us to focus on putting the focus back into the innovation in our platform, and driving consumption by our customers. They're really sort of small, agile teams that to attract our customers.
And why did you choose to deploy services on the marketplace as one of the channels that you were using to target these customers?
So we listed on the Amazon Marketplace, or the AWS Marketplace, in I think it was early 2016. What it did is it made it really easy for us to transact with larger organisations. So generally, we've always found that when you approach a larger organisation, it's very hard to work out how to transact. So they'll have procurement policies and the likes. It's always very challenging to work out, and also the timing around these types of activities to get these things up and running. We're also getting a demand a demand from our larger organisations for different reasons, for an internal hosted appliance, so that they could put that inside their networks and secure it in their own way. And the marketplace made it really easy for us to monetize that appliance-based offering.
That's great to hear. Could you tell us a little bit more about what are the benefits Cumulus saw from listing on the marketplace?
Yeah, so look, there's probably a number of benefits that we got with listing on the marketplace. I think with anything in any business that's not not a straight over the counter retail business, the chasing of money. So having to have systems in place that that invoice and collect money and the likes can often be quite painful, and also just collecting and dealing with failed and bad, like people credit card number changes and all these things. So it really outsources the pain of dealing with these types of challenges. As I was sort of getting at before, and what the team, or the Itzik and Basker from Crayon Data were sort of mentioning, is it gives them a really quick, or gives the customer a really quick way to trial something, understand whether it adds value to their organisation. So from our point of view, on the other side of that, it really reduces our procurement cycles. So we're not spending long times making decisions. We're just getting into organisations, telling them about our value. They are able to do a really quick trial and see whether that does meet that value for them in their scenarios, and then they're able to transact straight away. So it really reduces our procurement cycles. It's also enabled us to fast track and accelerate some of our partnerships with other technology and other consulting organisations. So we're able to do joint selling with larger ISVs like the Network Appliances and some other ones that we've been working with, like Puppet, and allows us to sell together through the marketplace. And like this webinar, Amazon's Amazon's able to, or does a lot of joint marketing, and allows us to get good exposure into a number of Amazon customers. I think there was 100,000 plus mentioned before that use the Amazon Marketplace.
Yeah, we're super glad we were able to help in that way. So it sounds like you're echoing a little bit of the sentiment that Crayon Data mentioned, which was the shortening of the sales cycle, being able to enable you guys to move much faster. With this sort of added speed, same question to you as I asked the Crayon Data guys. What has it enabled you guys to do as a startup?
I think for us, it really lets us focus on our product. So, especially in an early stage, or always in a product-based business, your customer is king, your product is king, and how you're solving their problems is the key. So we can focus on working on that. We can focus on listening to our customers. We can focus on driving that consumption inside those organisations. And not having to worry about those administrative procurement panels and all of these other challenges that that startups have selling into other organisations. So I think it really just allows us to put the customer first and really focus on making sure that we're innovating in a way that we need to stay relevant and provide an awesome product.
That really resonates with us at Amazon because we really like to work backwards from the customer and make sure that we're delivering services and products that they're asking for and just really working back from what they want from us. So completely understand where you're coming from. Are there any downsides or challenges that you guys experienced with the marketplace?
Look, not as many as there has been in the past. I think the marketplace has really improved, like a lot of Amazon services. When it was released, it was a very basic service from a seller point of view, and there was a few downsides and whatnot that at the time. I think one of the things that a lot of startups would have noticed at the time is you needed to have US entity with a US bank account. Although I think a lot of these conditions have been relaxed. I think you still need a US bank account, but there's already services in play like Stripe's Atlas or Payoneer, where you can get around a lot of these different types of or get around some of those challenges. If you're looking to go down the path of an AMI-based listing, so where it's actually you're providing your product on an AMI and selling through the marketplace, there's definitely a number of I'd say challenges getting some of this stuff going. There's a lot of Amazon documentation out now, but there's also a really helpful marketplace team distributed through a couple of different regions, but they've got solution architects there that work in that team that are there to help you, so they can help with ensuring that the solution that you're proposing to put in there meets the marketplace guidelines. Some of the challenges or some of the things that were in there are around private information. So obviously Amazon's got conditions with its customers, and obviously when the partner solutions are being sold through that marketplace, those solutions need to adhere to those same agreements that Amazon agrees to. So I think some of the things that we learned in that sort of space is just to make sure that we reach out, or that we spoke to them early. We talked about what we're proposing rather than what we've built. Otherwise, we had to go back and do a little bit of rework here and there. But they were probably some of the things. But from a go-to-market point of view, there's absolutely no downside. It's just more about the process of getting on there.
That's excellent. I'm glad we were able to help in that technical validation sense. You've touched on this lightly, but could you go through in a little bit more detail what the actual process was like moving the marketplace, maybe from when you guys first started to host all the way to actually getting your product listed?
Yeah, so the initial process in, I think, early 2016 was probably a little bit fun at times. But obviously, as I sort of touched on before, over the last 18 months, the marketplace process and interface has improved significantly. The majority of that process now is full self-service, and the experience in any of our updates is really strong now. I touched before that having a US entity and a US bank account was a mandatory thing when we were first listing in the marketplace. It's now been relaxed a little. The first part of that process is you need to register as a marketplace seller, and that's available through the marketplace website or the Amazon Marketplace website. You do still need to have a US bank account, But as I was touched on before, that they're available, and Amazon supports the third-party services like Payoneer and the likes now, so they're common practice, and also included the details for those are included in the Amazon Marketplace documentation. But essentially, from that point, registering, then if it's an AMI-based service, it's actually more about building the actual AMI and making sure that it's supportable, updatable, which is will depend on the technology stack. The rest of the process is pretty self-service. It's once you've built that AMI, it's about submitting that AMI for scanning. It goes through a security scanning process, provided that it passes. And it's quite easy to comply because most of the documentation is quite detailed and quite simple to follow. Once it passes, it's about filling in a listing form, providing mostly the marketing information and the pricing information, and how you want to price it. There's a number of different options available now. It's actually quite complex. You can you can make it more complex than you need to, and it really will pretty much meet any of your any way that you want to price a product. There's metering based pricing, so you can do it per size of something, or you can do it per hour, or you can do it. You can actually use contracts and create an agreed price. So there's a number of different flexible pricing offerings now from the marketplace, which make it pretty easy to do. But it's really up to you to decide how you want to utilize that and how you want to price that product. And all the forms are available through that marketplace interface, which allow you to go through that process. Once it's submitted, it usually takes around 5 to 10 working days, I think, for approval. Again, if you've got any challenges, the team's usually quite responsive. If there's any issues with your submission, they'll generally set up a call with you and walk through some of the alternatives or the ways that you can move forward together. So yeah, it's been really it's a relatively straightforward process now.
Again, I'm glad we were able to make that a painless process for you, and it sounds like you guys are able to take advantage of a lot of the interesting features that we offer to through the marketplace as well. With that, could you tell me a little bit more about what the future looks like at Cumulus?
So look, we're obviously just out there trying to grow our business and our platform. So really just trying to continue to improve our current offerings. Obviously, as public cloud and AWS or the likes innovate, the challenges change and move, and we try and move with them. Obviously, in the marketplace space and the marketplace solutions, we've got some really strong partnerships, as I sort of mentioned before. So what we're really trying to do is we're really trying to make it easy to consume, or not only just consume, but manage certain as-a-service offerings comprising of multiple technologies. So for an example would be something like MongoDB being consumed on NetApp technologies and being able to provide a really simple management interface so not only to provision but also to manage and clone in a similar interface to like an RDS, for example, to make that consumption really simple for customers.
Great, and how does that...
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I was going to touch on the marketplace side of things as well. From our side of the fence as well, is really just how we how we grow our existence in the marketplace. We really plan to use more detailed functionalities, like use some of the metered billing, so we're able to either modularize our platform or have multiple different offerings, and then starting to get into SaaS contracts as well that really help help in our growing enterprise customer base.
And with those additional offerings coming online in the marketplace soon, do you find that each time you go through a new offering that it's a little bit easier to go through the process, having done it a few times already?
Absolutely, yeah. So our first, I think when we invested in and put our first platform on, we spent a number of months going through that process. It was more of a learning exercise than anything. I think now, at best, we would spend 5 to 10 days going through that process, as we've got a fairly well-oiled process internally that allows us to submit things and create similar type offerings.
Well, that's incredible, that reduction from a few months to a few days. That's really exciting to hear. So thanks so much, Michael, for sharing that experience with us. I'm really glad to hear we were able to help you guys reduce your time to market, get to new customers, and focus more on what you guys do best, which is your product. So thanks for your time with us today.
No worries. Thanks, Julian.
So we're just going to switch gears again and jump into questions. I have one for the Crayon Data team on the call. Want to know, did you guys find that buying and deploying software from Marketplace was much easier than the traditional ways? And could you walk us through a little bit about what the traditional ways you guys were using prior to being on Marketplace?
Sure. When building your product, you often need to complement some of the non-core aspects, especially when it relates to your infrastructure and hosting, etc. It goes through the stack and really depends on the nature of your product, but I don't know how the person who asked this, how he selects a vendor or a product, you at least want to, first of all, know that whoever you're evaluating is able to deliver and give you the value you're looking for. You need to see it is actually functioning, it's compatible. You need to see that it will go with you as you go forward, and you need to see that you actually can afford including that either in your product or embed that in your business process. So there is an entire set of qualification of whatever software or vendor that sells you a software or a hardware that you need to do. That process, again, depending on the nature of that specific, is not a trivial one. And many times people just make a decision without properly looking into how does this fit into that. And we used to do that, not necessarily in the best organized form. However, each time we needed something, we needed somebody, and again, we were a startup, we needed somebody to have some intelligent evaluation of that specific vendor. And when we were lucky and we had enough time to evaluate the spectrum of that class of services that we are considering on taking. Obviously, we didn't have a good enough track record. It consumed time, mostly also because of, at times, our internal inefficiencies. As a startup, we have not put in place at the time enough structure in order to do that in a repeatable form that asks and qualifies all the questions. When Marketplace comes, there is a certain sense of comfort, at least with us, that whatever comes from the Marketplace already is a good opportunity to streamline some of those aspects. It will not take away all the business process and qualification you need to do. You need still to see whether or not it fits to your product, it works for you on the money side, etc. However, it definitely will not impose you an operational overhead in managing and talking to another guy. You can quickly access some additional aspects relating either to operations or the performance of whatever you're buying in order to get assurances that you're not making the wrong mistake, more so you're probably making the better decision. So that's a little on that. Essentially, you're taking away a lot of headache and bureaucracy away.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us, Itzik. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions, but I just want to thank everyone once again for your time, and a reminder that we will be sending through the $100 credit vouchers for all of those attending. So please make sure you fill out your feedback form, which will pop up after the webinar session has ended. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to email the team as well. Thanks, everyone, and see you next time.